Ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between, welcome to Talking at 6. I am your host, 1-6, a.k.a. the Slick Shay Star, a.k.a. the Pest Star, a.k.a. I'm ridiculous, a.k.a. Three Stinky Dinky, ah, a.k.a. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the slickest of them all? AKA. God, it's so hard to be modest. AKA. Jack might be nimble, but I'm a sex symbol. So slick I stole the wick from his candlestick. AKA. I'm in the mood to scam simply because I can. AKA. Why sweetly? Nah. AKA. There's nothing common about the way I dance. AKA Sean Connery's birthday. AKA That's why I picked it a ninja. Today's episode I will be discussing the 1997 comedy classic The Pest. AKA John Leguizamo's best film. Don't at me. But those of you that aren't familiar, just go ahead and say this off top. Trigger warning / if you're easily offended, just go ahead and skip this episode. But this film does it's from 97. It's a lot of language. There's a lot of words that were more commonly used back then. There's a lot of jokes that were more acceptable back then. There's a lot of topics, a lot of tropes, a lot of things they go for in this that were more acceptable in comedy at the time and would not be looked upon as fondly now. But for the time, it was accepted, and honestly, I still find a lot of it funny because none of it's all lighthearted jest. It's not meant to be none of it is directed as actual attacks at anyone or any race or any ethnic background or anything in general. But for those of you that aren't familiar, the plot of this movie essentially centers around a con man who lives in Miami being hunted by a rich Nazi, basically, with the idea of if he survives for 24 hours, he gets a ridiculous amount of money. I honestly can't remember the amount, but basically he's being hunted by a Nazi for money. So there are a lot of jokes about Germany, about the guy being a Nazi, about just racial jokes in general, because he is a con man. He's a Latino con man in Miami who pretends to be part of part of the movie, part of his character, his whole character is he constantly lies about everything. He's constantly scamming people, constantly conning people. His day job, he's a delivery boy for a Chinese food restaurant that only hires Asian people, so he pretends to be Chinese to get hired at the restaurant and speaks fake Chinese. And honestly, I get how it can be horribly offensive, but he speaks fake Chinese, and literally part of one of the jokes is the boss even calls him out on, how come I never understand any of your Chinese? It's oh, cause I'm from South. It's yeah, I'm from South too. I'm from far South. Sorry for the voice, but I'm probably gonna do more of that. If you, like I said, that voice triggered you, just go ahead and skip this episode, because I'm going to do more of those. No offense, not intentionally be racist, but it literally is, directly from the movie. That's what he sounds like, that's what he does. But, he pretends to be Asian, to be Chinese, not even just Asian. At the time, yeah, now he was Asian. Anyway, he pretends to be Chinese to be a delivery boy at this restaurant, and, just constantly lies to his boss. He's in that. So, thing why he agrees to be hunted by the Nazis, go ahead, skip the point. Why he agrees to be hunted by the Nazis is he's in debt to the Scottish mob, which that brings up jokes about Scottish people, the Scottish mob, and how, why he's not afraid of them and why people aren't afraid of them because they're Scottish, and, jokes about that. So, it's like I said, this movie highly, a lot of racial jokes, a lot of, comedy that just wouldn't fly in a modern era, a lot of words that wouldn't fly in a modern era, a lot of things that got away with at the time. But also, this movie's, PG-13. It was built as a family movie, and it is honestly a lighthearted comedy. It's not. Granted, it's about a man being hunted for sport in order to make money, but it's it's lighthearted. At the end of the day, it is a lighthearted comedy. It's not oh, it's funny because haha. It never it makes those jokes and makes jokes about stereotypes and just differences and stuff. But it's never the butt of the person who's basically it's like the person who's being imitated or being is not necessarily mocked, but like being imitated isn't necessarily the butt of the joke. It's more of like, oh, it's ridiculous that this guy is doing this, but also it's like more just of like, oh, haha, this guy's like it's John Leguizamo, like he's just wacky, over the top, super like cartoon. It's essentially like a live action Looney Tune movie with zero animation. Like this guy, like the whole movie, like the whole plot of this movie is just like this guy does all this crazy shit. Like even his family's like, man, dude, you're too over the top. Like he's too over the top. His friends are like, yo, you gotta calm down with the scams and the cons and like you're just doing too much. And like the whole point is like the character of the Pest is that he's like Pestario Vargas. His name is Pestario Vargas. They could like AKA the Pest. His friends call him Pest for sure. Everyone calls him Pest. But it's like essentially his whole character is like, yeah, he is too much. He's constantly over the top. He's constantly going too far. He's like too wound up. He's too hyper. He's basically like I say, he's basically essentially Daffy Duck. Like it's weird. Like he's Daffy Duck with the charisma of Bugs Bunny. Like the charisma and character work of Bugs Bunny, but also Daffy Duck in the sense of like everyone gets annoyed at him eventually. Like, because no one really gets like people who get mad at Bugs Bunny or like Elmer Fudd, Yosemite Sam. Like usually it's the villains that get mad at Bugs Bunny, but at this with the Pest, everyone gets mad. Like even his friends are like, dude, you gotta calm down. Like they still go with him, they go along with it, they side with him, but even they admit that he's gone too far. So he admit he's gone too far sometimes. But honestly, like not even like, oh, this movie triggers everybody. I was like, but like, yeah, I mean, it's real. The movie goes after the Scottish mob. It goes after the Germans. It goes. I mean, technically he's Latino. It doesn't necessarily. It hits some Latino stereotypes. It doesn't go super hard on that. But even then, it goes at Latino people. It goes at Asian people. It goes at Black people. It goes at fucking white people. There's one part where they go at white guys. There's parts where it makes like not even poke funs at, but it acknowledges like Jewish culture. Like there's part of the movie where like later on him and his, anyway, I'll get into it later, but like two of the characters dress up like rabbis and sneak into a synagogue. Like the movie goes for everybody and everything, and not even like in a we're gonna take it down kind of way, just in a yeah, you know, like just makes references to everything, just points out jokes, points out things to everything. Like he goes shit. I forgot at one point he goes at Irish people and priests. Like he makes he cracks jokes to an Irish priest, dog. Like it goes everywhere. Like it hits everything. Like it's all done in a sense of comedy. Like it's not done in like a too far like oh it's trying to take it down or it's like it's pointing major potholes in it. It's just like a oh John Leguizamo can do imitations. He can do voices. He can do characters, and that's essentially what this is. It's like this basically would have been like if he had been on Saturday Night Live, he might have. I don't think he was, but had he been like a main, like this is essentially like how like Austin Powers is a takedown of the like it's essentially a giant parody of the entire James Bond series and like British people in general and like kind of British people like British spies, the whole James Bond series and it like it talks about it's a lot of British culture and stuff in it, and James Bond's kind of like and Austin Powers is kind of just like oh man this guy whole thing is whack, it's crazy. It's basically an SNL sketch that like would have never gotten approved on SNL because like it's not I don't know, it's not the highest quality, but I love this movie, man. It's funny. It's one of those things like you watch. Like I've watched it as a kid, so it has like I have a lot of nostalgia attached to this movie. But honestly, like it's really, really funny. It's not. I wouldn't necessarily say it's good. Like the quality's super great, but it's definitely a great thing from of its time. It's definitely really of its time. Like the whole like the aesthetic is really 90s. The music, the clothes, like everything about it is like oh my god. You can tell this was like mid 90s. You know it was made in 97 so like it was released in 97 so you can definitely tell like it's a lot of 90s influence on it. Like I was watching this one time I was watching with somebody one time and it's like oh my god what is up with his shirt. Like his shirt's just super crazy like different patterns like it's a button up with just like crazy different patterns on it. Like it's all this like not even like plaid like checkerboard like quilt work. It's like giant squares of like cartoon mouths and then like the other side is just like bright colors and it's like it's alternating like on different sides. Like it's all insane. Like it's honestly, yeah, it's like super nostalgic 90s. Like, if you're a 90s kid, you'll love this. Like, if you grew up in the 90s or if you, like, just like 90s culture in general, check this movie out. You'll love it because, like, it's 100% what it is. Like, it's just super hardcore, like, 90s shit. And, like, nowadays, like, a lot of the joke stuff wouldn't fly, or, like, a lot of culture shit doesn't make sense, but, like, it's so funny at the time. Like, it was so funny. Like, I saw this as a little kid and I was like, oh, man, my cousin showed me this, and I was like, I loved it to the point like where like I went back like my early 20s like I went back and bought the DVD. I had to go buy this movie. I had to track it down and buy it so I could watch it. And I was like, dude, to this day this movie still makes me laugh. Like there's still references from it. Like it's so great. Like it starts off from the jump. Like do yourself a favor. You don't even gotta check out the movie. Just go to YouTube, look up the Pest intro. Just watch the intro to this movie. And if the intro to the movie doesn't make you laugh, don't bother. Because like that's literally like what that intro is. It sets up what the entire movie is. And if that intro isn't funny to you at all, don't fuck with it. But if you like that intro, even in the slightest, go ahead and check out the movie because the rest of the movie is gonna make you laugh because it's just more of the same shit. It's more just wacky, like like I said, live action Looney Tunes style gags. Like it's so funny. It's like it's just him making constant references to the thing. Like his boss at the Chinese restaurant, someone's like, "You know what? You don't even look Chinese. You look like Mo from Three Stooges." Okay, I'm sorry for the voice. That might have been, but like literally, that's like the voice. The boss is doing that voice. Like it's just like, "You look like Mo from Three Stooges. I fire your ass." Like he fires. There's a fire him. He's like, "No, see." Because he was late for work. He's like, "Why are you late for work?" And I never understand your Chinese. I don't think you're Chinese. Plus your hair looks fake. You look like Mo. You don't even look Chinese. You look like Mo from the Three Stooges. Because he's wearing a wig, like he's wearing a bowl cut wig. He just makes up fake words. Like he's not speaking actual Chinese. He's just speaking gibberish, trying to play it off as Chinese. It's so funny. But like he basically, essentially gets out. I'm not gonna spoil the whole movie, but he gets out of like getting fired by telling his boss that he's late for work because he was walking his pet duck because he sees like they have ducks hanging in the window. Like, I was walking my pet dog, duck, and he plays it off as like almost insinuates that the boss like killed it, that the restaurant actually killed his pet duck. They might have killed his pet duck. His pet duck Quacky. Poor Quacky, I loved it. You was so funny. But like as soon as the boss is like, and the boss talks when the cook's like, did you kill Quacky? And the cook is just like, I might have. And the boss just starts slapping the shit. I'm just like, why? 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 He's just so scared that like, it's like, yeah, can I use your phone? Not to call you a lawyer. Like he tells him he's gonna call his lawyer and sue him for killing his pet duck. He's like, can I use your phone? It's like, not to call you a lawyer. And it's so funny. But like, he ends up using the phone called called a Scottish mob, and like because they showed up to like he was pulling off a scam. I can't not go beat. I will not go beat for this movie because there's so much shit back to back, and I'm already way out of order. Like I already missed so many things just from the intro. There's like basically the intro to this podcast is 90% of the intro of this podcast is direct lines from the intro to the movie. Like not even a couple of them are from later on in the movie, but most of those are from directly from the intro. And there's still a bunch of shit I didn't touch in the intro because the intro song is so great. It's called Voodoo Mambo. It's performed by John Leguizamo. It's such a great intro. It's such a great song. It's so dope, so funny. But then there's also a bunch of there's a bunch of jokes I missed. Like he talks to an Irish priest, like a Catholic. He's a Catholic priest, but he's Irish. It's like, oh, Father, something I can't remember. Sorry, but he has like super Irish last name, and he's like, you keep asking questions. I'll take my secrets to another priest. And it's like something like what is he walking out? He's like, oh, magic charms, they're magically delicious. Like horribly racist thing to do, horribly stupid, fucked up. But like played off as this character is clearly not a role model. This character is like clearly an idiot. Everyone else this guy's stupid, but like you love him because he's slightly charming. He's a con man. He's a charming con man. It's like you hate him. You kind of hate him because he's an idiot, but you love him because he's like he has just enough charm. He's just enough charm to pull it off. So you love him because of it. And it's like honestly, dude, like it's so great. Like it's comedy. Like it's just, yeah, well, it is comedy, but it's like it's one of those things where it's like it's if you like stupid, goofy humor, like if you like the new guy, if you like Accepted, if you like the slacker comedy genre, you'll love this movie because it's one of the OGs that like really started it all. Like honestly, looking back at it, I realized this honestly might be why I like these movies so much. This is one of the first movies I saw like this. I saw like honestly, I already saw this and the new guy around the same time, and it's like two completely different, really like different eras of time. But it's like, yeah, this is like one of the first movies. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. And this is really funny, and it's just really stupid and over the top and hilarious. And dude's like funny, and like he's like, literally it starts off like the first thing he does like after the intro is him pulling off. He's going to go play the shell game, or like he's trying to find the marble under the coconuts and you spin them around. But the whole thing is like he's convincing people he's blind, so he doesn't actually know where the marble is. You have to guess where the marble is while he's spinning the cups, and you have to try to guess where it is. But like he shouldn't know because he's blind, and it's like it's so stupid. But like the whole thing is like, yeah, his gambling debt. He owes. It's like his gambling. He owes gambling. Like he gambled and lost, so he owes money to the Scottish mob. And so they show up. Turn over his shell game to try to shake him down and get their money, and like try to beat him up. And like when they go to beat him up, he's like, "Wait, you wouldn't hit a blind guy?" Even though they know he's not blind, he's wearing like sunglasses, like pretends to be blind. So they punch him in the face. He's like, "What about asthmatics? I can't breathe." And they punch him in the face again. He's like, "What about emotionally confused people? Ha 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 he he." They punch him again, let him hit the ground that time. He's like, "What about epileptics?" And you start faking a seizure. Ow, my tongue! It's just so stupid. And eventually, like he just gets up and runs away and goes to work. And then like after he tells his boss about the whole fake pet duck story, he uses the phone. He's like, yeah, you can use the phone. Not to call your lawyer. He used the phone to call the Scottish mob and tells the boss, like, hey, come on, man. Chill. Like, I'm getting your money. Like, trying to get him to call off his goons. He's like, not fair you call the goons on me. I'll get your money. Just calm down. And it's so funny. Like, eventually, he ends up, like, through mistaken identity, like, rich Nazi has one of his goons. So his goon like picks out a guy he wants to hunt because he hunts people for sport, and he picks out the guy he wants to hunt. And the goon sees the pest, thinking that's the guy he wanted, but it's the wrong guy. It's like, why would I want that guy? He's scrawny and useless. Why would I want to hunt him? It won't be fun. But it's like, no, he's a con man. So eventually, it leads to him like telling him, it's like, oh, ordering Chinese food, ordering food from the restaurant he works at, gets him specifically to deliver it. When he shows up, they tell him like, "Oh, you're perfect for this scholarship I provide." Basically, lying to him, it's like, "Oh yeah, scholarship, you know." And part of getting the scholarship is we go for a hunt on my private island. It's like, "Oh, what are you hunting? Deer, goose, deer goose. Yes, we hunt a deer goose. It's indigenous to my island." It's like eventually, like they just lie to him, get him to the island. Eventually, once they get him there, they finally reveal, it's like, "All right, we're actually gonna hunt you, but you have 24. We're gonna hunt you for 24 hours. If you survive for the 24 hours, then we'll give you the money. Like the amount of the money we said was the money that we told you was scholarship was actually for. And so you got to do survive for 24 hours. And it's like it's so funny. Like it's so stupid. Like it's such a dumb setup. It's basically the most dangerous game, but way dumber. And they set him up, and then like the guy, like the main guy, like I'm trying not to call him. I'm try to quit calling him a Nazi, but he basically is a Nazi. But like his son is gay, and it's like they never fly. Well, they kind of hint at it as like one of the things. Like it's '97, so it's still like kind of funny. It necessarily like it's. I feel like as far as jokes go, they don't really like rely on that too much. But there is one point where like his dad, like he's like making him, his dad's making him carry him all the equipment. And, like he's like super scrawny dude, and he's like struggling to carry the equipment. And like he like grabs him from him and he falls down. His dad's like, "Oh, stop being a sissy." He's like, "I don't know if you know this, father, but I am a sissy." Like they have like super German accents. And it's like, yeah, eventually like he becomes friends with the pest because like pest realizes, oh yeah, you hate your dad too. Your dad's hunting me. I don't like him. He's a bad guy. They both agree that that his dad's a bad guy. So they like go on there. So he like basically the pest talks him into letting him take their boat back to like Miami. So he takes the boat to Miami. Like they both on a boat, and like Pest like bails off because they get seasick. And so Pest like bails and swims back to Miami where his friends are having a pool party that he's supposed to be going to. And he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And he shows up at the pool party that he wasn't supposed to go to. He's supposed to be having dinner with his girlfriend, who her parents are black, which also becomes like also becomes a joke. Kind of racist, but not. I mean, yeah, he shows up in like a dashiki, and it's like it's one of those things where like it is. I get the racism is there. It's not super racist. Like it's not like he's doing it to be offensive. He's like trying to be nice, but it's like also he's unaware of their culture. So it's not. It's like racist. It's more racial. Shout out to Pally Von J for the coining that term. Not my original term. I got it from him. But like it's not necessarily like direct racism. It's more of it's a racial, like it is like the race elements of it are there, and it is poking at the racial differences, but it's not necessarily like intended to be strictly racist. Like he's not doing it to be offensive. He's doing it from a state of unknowing, just be confused, like just not knowing. It's not understanding, but also being willing to understand, but not fully knowing on his own. He just needs to do the research. Basically, it's coming from his point of ignorance. Anyway, like a lot of crazy stuff happened. Oh man, I can figure out. They end up at a karaoke bar at one point where like he dresses up like a Japanese businessman. Like I said, a lot, a lot of things in the movie happen that should not fly. That are kind of like, oh man, like tropes of classic comedies from like the 80s that would not fly now, but like he got away with. Like the whole point of this movie is literally just for John Leguizamo to dress up as different characters and do different voices and do his different impressions. It's like how comedians back in the day had to do multiple characters, had to be able to do different impressions and shit to be like recognized. Well, this movie is his showcase of doing like, hey, look at all these characters I can do. Look at all these wacky things I'm willing to do. Look at like a lot of it's physical comedy too. Look at all this physical comedy I'm willing to do. But also like this movie got trashed by critics. Like honestly, like it's so bad. Critics hated it so much. Like I looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes. It has an 8% critic score, but a 68% audience score. So it's like people who watched it loved it. Like people who watch it, the audience who watches it and gets it loves it. But the critics absolutely hated it and like completely trashed it. That's why I say, like honestly, I say it's one of his best. It's his best movie. Like John Leguizamo's done a lot of dope shit. He's done a lot of stand up. He's done a lot of movies. He's comedic. He's known for his comedic powers. But like honestly, this movie is funny as shit. And I love it. Like honestly, I feel like this is one of his best roles because it does so much. Because it is so like showcasing of what he can do, but also get how it's like it's not fucking like a structured like, oh, he's so deep comedic. It's a lot of like physical humor and just like impressions. It's essentially, like I said, it's a Looney Tune, like it's a live action Looney Tune special, like it's a live action Looney Tune movie. Like it's him basically doing Daffy Duck, him doing a combination of Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny. It's like it's it's the despicableness of Daffy, but like the charisma of Bugs, the charisma and like character shifting of Bugs, but like also with the personality of Daffy. And then where like a lot of it gets like disregarded. It's like, oh man, it's just racist, not funny. It's like, yes, I get it, but also if you get past the part of like, oh, he's doing that horrible impression, also the actual content of the joke is good. If he wasn't doing that impression, it would still be funny. Like if he wasn't doing the racist voice with it, it would still be funny. Like even the voice that would be that's deemed offensive, that seemed as offensive, like if it wasn't doing an offensive voice, it would still be a funny character. The idea is there. Like but it's yeah, you know, I get how people can not like it, but I fucking love. Like I love this movie, dude. It's so funny. There's one part where like him and his friend. Oh, also Ari Spears is in it. He plays his friend Chubbs, and like they're running from the mob because they're trying to like hide from the Germans. He's running from the Germans and from the Scottish mob, so he's trying to hide out from the Germans. He got back to Miami, and he's trying to hide out from the Germans. And like they just like pull up this club, and it's like, oh, I heard there's a party. I heard there's a party going on tonight. And like he pulls up like these like white guys in a trans, these three white guys in a Trans Am. He's like, hey guys, I heard there's a party. I heard there's a sick party going on tonight, man. You know, think me and my friend can get in? It's like, ah. And then like they do the racist voice. Like they do the fucking, oh, sorry, this is a private party, teach. It's so racist. Also, parties does that was like the lines like, dude basically is Pauly Shore, but not Pauly Shore. And it's so funny, but it's like, yeah, parties are never mad. They're angry. It's so stupid. So basically, they do like a music battle where like the dudes in the Trans Am play "I Love Rock and Roll" and like they're in a Jeep. Pest and Chubbs are in the Jeep and they turn up the music and like they put in the tape. The other dudes put in the tape "I Love Rock and Roll." It's like Chubbs, you're stupid. Dude hits a switch. They're in a Jeep like a Wrangler with like no top and no doors. It lifts up to the point where like it's just sitting on giant subs and just blasting the song at them while they like perform the song. Like there's turntables and like turntables pop out of the dashboard and like they're just performing the song and like Ari Spears is DJing while John Leguizamo just dances on the Jeep and shit to the point where like the dudes pass out from their music being so awesome. It makes the other dudes that like they were trying to get the other dudes who were like going to the party, it makes them pass out and their car starts falling apart and shit. So they steal their tickets and go in. Is so fucking funny. It's so like stupid. It's so ridiculous over top of like what the fuck has happened. Why is this car sitting on speakers funny? To where like not just like oh racial funny like oh these guys are being racist funny no it's the like the complete spectacle of like this car just like giant speakers just popped up out of his car and like destroyed this other car and made these guys pass out and like there's other people around and no one questions it. It just happens and then like they steal their tickets and go into the party and no one questions it. No one's like concerned, like no one like there's just no like just fully everyone around it just fully accepts what just happened and just acts like nothing, like it was completely normal, and it's so fucking funny, dude. It's so insane. But in like, I don't want if you don't want to, you don't know the ending. Go ahead, and skip from here. Just go ahead, end the episode here. Just go ahead, end here. Thanks for checking it out. Love you. Shout out to you. Mad respect. But those of you that do want to know, spoiler warning: the end of the movie, the German guy like ends up trying not to give Pest the money, but he pretends to be the German ambassador and goes and cleans out the guy's bank account and gets him arrested gets a Nazi arrested for trying to hunt him. For actually not for hunting him. And it comes on his bank account, and the guy's like, "What? That's not the German ambassador. That's not the German ambassador." And Pez was like, "Oh, sure I am. If I wasn't the ambassador, would I have the audacity to do this and this and this?" And just like a bunch of slapstick shit, and like slaps him and like pulls his chin and like pants him and shit, like classic Bugs Bunny shit. Especially when he's like ambassador, like rolling the R for no reason. He's like, German ambassador. Why are you rolling your R's? It's so fucking funny, dude. But I highly recommend checking this movie out. Like, it's definitely not like I'm not saying it's gonna be like it's not like oh my god, this is the top tier quality. Like this is Chappelle level comedy. Like no, darling, this is like some you like Looney Tunes, you like just wacky stupid shit. Like you like classic slacker comedies. This is the movie for you. It's really fucking great. It's really funny. Like the soundtrack is awesome. The intro's really dope. And I really fucking love it. Like honestly, I just absolutely love this movie. It's one of my favorite like comedies. I really love it. I've loved this movie for a long time. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and end the episode here. Thank you for checking it out. Hopefully you go check out the movie. And in case I didn't entice you enough, I'll leave you with the intro song, Voodoo Mambo, performed by John Leguizamo. And as always, before I get to that, I just want to say thank you for checking this episode out. And as always, I've been your host, 1-6. Thank you for checking this out. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for giving me a chance. Hopefully you come back for more. But yeah.
Living life in Miami's vice. Mash, see? Nobody messing with the frog, see? What's up with signing out? Nice lady, I'm hiding, I'm sexy, but I'm hiding. Alright already. I'm ridiculous. Like a booger, I stick to this. Take a whip of this. I'm stinky dinky, stinky dinky, three stinky dinky, Old school beat meets Latin freak, and you don't stop. When the old school beat meets Latin freak, and you don't quit, and you don't stop. Mirror on the wall. Who is the slickest of them all? It's the smoothest, he's the artist. God, it's so hard to be modest. Put the fisticuffs, man. Put 'em up, put 'em up. Voodoo mambo, chili combo. Old school beat meets Latin street, and you don't stop. Mambo, voodoo mambo, yeah, chili combo. When the old school beat meets Latin street, and you don't quit, and you don't stop. Mami, but I'm a sexy bull, so slick as over with, I'm just trying to stay. I'm in the mood to scam, simply because I can. I'm the one who did it. Disappear in a flash with your cash in a bank like a genie. Lucy, I'm home. Done the Lucy. Break to the east, to the west. Break that money to the top. Yeah, kept your limits like that. Why slightly? No, no, no. Get too big, get retorted. Cause fans will get the party started. Which way did it go, George? Which way did it go? Revolution. Revolution's atrocious. Ay, dando cockroach, desgraciado. Sucio, chupa bandita. Juega y Dios mío, no puedo más. The land of a million disguises. Harmless. Crazy as they make 'em, I shake 'em, I bake 'em. So scientific, hate to be specific. E equals MC squared. You still live on the hard, divide it, slide up inside it, blend it, mix it. Damn, I'm terrific. Hippity, hoppity, sleep properly, suffering fuckity. I'm smaller than the average man, boo-boo. But y'all, people, Ranger, oh, the Ranger, boo-boo.